You found it. Your home for the best content on your favorite team, the Fighting Tigers of LSU. Do us a favor, subscribe to the channel, leave your comments below, and be sure to smash that like button.
As expected, 3 LSU Tigers selected, and as we were wrapping up the show on Thursday, Muse, Paulie, and I all gave you our picks of what we thought would happen, and my thought was that it was going to be chalk at the top of the draft. All the talk about trades and everything, sometimes you just don't overthink it, and that's exactly what happened. You saw 3 quarterbacks go in the top 3 picks. Marvin Harrison, then the O-lineman Joe Alt goes 5 to the Chargers, but of course, with the second pick is when the first Tiger came off the board.
With the second pick in the 2024 NFL Draft, the Washington Commanders select Jayden Daniels, quarterback, LSU.
I know there was a lot of talk before the draft about if Washington was a good spot for Jayden. I tend to believe it is. In a different era, when Dan Snyder was running that franchise into the ground, I could understand why there would be hesitation. And they haven't had the greatest success drafting quarterbacks throughout their history, as we've detailed a lot throughout this process. But you got a new head coach in Dan Quinn, so you at least have stability, right? I don't think that exists in Chicago. I think Matt Eberflus, they struggled this year. I think he's fired in Chicago. And so then Caleb Williams can have a new coach in year 2. You have stability with Dan Quinn. I like having a defensive-minded head coach because you know that defense is going to be solid, the same way Dan Quinn built solid defenses in Dallas, Atlanta when he was the head coach, in Seattle when they were going to and winning Super Bowls. So it's not all of the impetus of success is not going to be on Jayden because they're going to have solid defenses there in Washington. Yeah, they need to get him more weapons, no doubt. But I think new ownership, I think Cliff Kingsbury is the offensive coordinator. Cliff Kingsbury's offense has had success in Arizona until Kyler Murray got hurt, and it all unraveled there on him. But I don't love Cliff Kingsbury, the head coach. Cliff Kingsbury, the offensive coordinator, play caller, quarterback coach, I like very much. So, yes, I think Washington is a much better situation than most might believe on its face. So here was, by the way, Adam Peters, why they decided to choose Jayden Daniels with the second pick of the Commanders.
Why Jayden? Why not Jayden? Jayden, to us, he was special in every way. On the field, off the field. I turned on Jayden for the first time here, and I couldn't believe it. I honestly couldn't believe how good he was. Just the way he could process, the way he could see the field, go through reads, deliver on time, deliver with pressure in his face, take a hit and deliver a third down pass and move the chains. He's the best deep ball thrower we thought in the draft, and that's even before you start watching him run. The way he runs, he just kind of takes your soul as a defense.
The way he runs takes your soul as a defense. How many times do we see Jayden Daniels on 3rd and long make a play happen with his feet to extend a drive? It's true. You think you're off the field, you think you got him, and then you don't got him. So Jayden becomes the 4th quarterback in LSU history to go in the first 2 picks. Of course, you had Joe Burrow, Jamarcus Russell, Burt Jones went number 2 overall back in 1973, and now Jayden Daniels. But for the first time in program history, LSU had a quarterback and receiver both go in the top 10 of the same draft because this happened at number 6.
With the 6th pick in the 2024 NFL Draft, the New York Giants select Malik Nabers, wide receiver, LSU.
They didn't overthink it as well. For all the talk and conversation about the possibility the Giants moving up, J.J. McCarthy, all of it ended up being a smokescreen. They were trying to get their favorite target to fall to them. Maybe that was Marvin Harrison, but ultimately, look, you paid Daniel Jones a lot of money to be your quarterback. Go get him weapons. And you got arguably the most explosive player in this draft in Malik Nabers. Here was Joe Shane about why they decided to take Malik Nabers over Rome Odunze, who was also on the board.
Yeah, we have a lot of meetings, throughout the season, and at the end of the day, we just thought Malik's toughness, separation, speed. Not that Rome doesn't have all those things. Rome's a very good player too. Just when it came down to it and what we were looking for, Malik checked a lot of those boxes. As a person, his his toughness, competes, production, and again, the versatility that he'll bring to the table.
Told it before. But please play Malik. This is Malik about being a #1 pick in the largest media market in the world, like New York.
I'm going to focus on my craft, focus on being the best person I can be, best player I can be, best teammate, continue to have a great work ethic, and then hit the ground running with the Giants organization.
So the thing I love about Malik, aside from the explosiveness, the leaping ability, we saw it at the Combine, right? That when you run 4.3 at Pro Day and you jump 46 inches or whatever it was, he's a physical freak. So at 6 foot, as strong and explosive as he is, we know that part of it. But I love it's overused, I know, but the dog mentality that Malik Nabers has. I love that in him. I've told you before, we've gone out to practices. Malik, Moss is a teammate, stands over him and lets him know that he's the man. He is an alpha dog. I know that's cliche and overused, but when you think about, literally, pack animals that assert dominance over others, that's what Malik Nabers does. So, yeah, in New York, I don't worry about him thinking New York is going to swallow him up. No, I think he's going to go dominate in that market. I think he's going to be awesome. And when you think about it, there's two sides of this equation, man. New York last year was 31st in the NFL in passing offense, 169 yards a game. They were 30th in scoring at 15 points a game. You had to get Brian Daboll and Daniel Jones weapons offensively. That wasn't a maybe. That wasn't we talked about wants, needs, must. That wasn't a want. That was an absolute must. If you want to be better offensively, you got to go get explosive players. Darius Slayton was your leading receiver a year ago with 770 yards. You had to get Daniel Jones weapons. You did. I love the pick with Malik going to the Giants. And I said Brian Thomas was going to go to Jacksonville at 17. Well, I was wrong about the pick, but I was right about the team.
With the 23rd pick in the 2024 NFL Draft, the Jacksonville Jaguars select Brian Thomas Jr., wide receiver, LSU.
So Mel Kiper rated or had his reactions to the first round, and one of the teams that he listed as a winner was Jacksonville because of how they maneuvered in the draft. Yes, they could have taken Brian Thomas at 17, but instead what they did was they maneuvered in the draft, they traded back, they recouped assets, and still got one of the most explosive playmakers in this draft in Brian Thomas Jr. So they recouped assets and got a guy that essentially replaces Calvin Ridley in that offense, and you got Trevor Lawrence, a true #1 home run hitter, deep threat receiver in Brian Thomas. Here was the Jags head coach Doug Peterson on BTJ.
You're adding a skilled receiver, you're adding depth, you're adding a guy that, has an element of speed that we haven't had, and probably since Calvin. And it really, once we get him in here too and really get our hands on him, get him into the playbook, in a couple of weeks and really see how we can use him, I think it can only be a great asset for us on offense.
What a day for LSU. For the first time in program history, LSU had a quarterback, wide receiver among the top 10, as we mentioned. An amazing day for LSU with a program, for the program as a whole. And this was the second, Daniels, becomes the second player in LSU history taken in the first round by Washington. LaRon Landry was taken 5 overall by Washington back in 2007. And there was one, I'd written these down. There was one more tidbit I had about, this was obviously the first time that LSU's had 3 players. That was in the top 6 back in 2007 when that happened with Jamarcus and LaRon. That both went top 6. Anyway, LSU's had a lot of history last night with 2 players going in the top 6, 3 players in round 1. So congrats to those 3 guys off to their next destinations, all in really good spots. You got to like a lot.
Hey, thanks so much for watching. Please leave your comments. I love to interact, and be sure to hit the red subscribe button below.